What is going on, everybody? If you don't know how to draw this game as white and white to move, this is the video for you. Out of the 5 possible moves for white, only one of them does not lose. Do you know which one it is? If not, stay tuned because this is probably the most important chess lesson you have ever stumbled across. And it would be a big mistake not to follow through and see what lessons I'm about to lay forward. Lesson number 1, opposition. Let's say, for example, black has the material to win. All it has to do is take out one of the pawns. And if it takes out one of the pawns, it'll be able to march one of their pawns forward and release their bishop. And 2 bishops is enough to checkmate. So with one released bishop, they can release the other. And with the 2, they should win. All they have to do is just kill one of the pawns. If white controls the opposition, there is nothing black can do in this situation. And white, once they control opposition, there's nothing black can do to take that from them. Nothing. Doesn't matter how far white is, even if it's not direct opposition. Even if the pieces are 5 squares away, there's still nothing black can do as long as they hold something called the opposition. If it is black's turn, that means white holds the opposition. If black tries making a movement towards one of the pawns, white can just follow. And there is absolutely nothing black can do in this situation, and it'll be a draw game. All because white has what we call opposition. So, let's say it is white's turn, and they are trying to stop black from winning. The correct move in this situation, if this is a puzzle, the correct move is d3, because that grabs opposition and that'll cut black off from ever making any forward progression. Pop question. From this position, is white able to put black in opposition and prevent them from gaining access to their pieces? Pause the video and give it a good thought. Give you 3 seconds to pause. 1, 2, and 3. The answer is yes. White can prevent black from doing so because there's something called distant opposition. Just how there's 1 square between the king and queen with opposition, with distant opposition, white can post up 3 squares between them. And no matter what black does, white can make the appropriate move to either keep the distant opposition, or if black makes a forward motion, turning that distant opposition into opposition. And there's still nothing black can do because they grabbed that initiative. And that's the point I'm trying to grab, is there is that initiative which you have to recognize, and you need to be able to figure out if you are in control or your opponent is in control. Because by moving on your turn to d5, let's look at the possibilities. If black moves to e1, all you have to do is move to e5. And you can play the same little game you were playing before. And if they go to c1, you move to c5. If they move to, let's say, c2, that's when you grab the straight opposition. You go to c4. And now if they go right, you go left, they go left. So even from a huge distance, like this in the beginning of the turn, when it was your turn, you have to recognize that there was opposition to be grabbed, and you need to grab it, because if you made any wrong move, let's say on your turn you just marched forward trying to close the gap, well, guess what? Now black grabbed the opposition. Now no matter what you do, black will copy. If you go right, they go right. And if you march forward, they march forward. And since they have the opposition, they can just wait for you to go left or right. And when you do, they're going to run and get their shit. Opposition, word of the day. Time to wrap this all up. So the whole point of this exercise is, in the current position, you cannot let black get the opposition. You need to grab the opposition, because black has to be in front of the pawn to escort it. And as long as you have the opposition, you can prevent that. There's a couple quirks. We'll go over it. Out of the 5 original squares, only one of them does work. And let's go over them. The reason why D2 leads to checkmate in 16 is because black can grab the opposition. You're handing it to them. And then no matter what you do, if you go right, they go right. And then they just wait for you to go left or right and flank. From here, you got to choose one way. If you go left, they're going to flank. And even if you try posting up again, they're going to just keep opposition. And then when you go left or right, they flank. And there's nothing you can do at that point, because they cover the crucial squares to promote their pawn. And they're going to laugh because you don't know how to win a simple game with a pawn. Why play the whole game if you don't even know how to play with a pawn? That's what I'm fixing for you guys. So that was the D2 move. The reason why C2 doesn't move or doesn't work is because you're still letting black gain the opposition. Even though it's far away from the pawn, you know, they got the opposition. When you march, they march. When you march, they march. And I will mention that they can also go to E4, because that is a form of opposition as well. That's called diagonal opposition. There's 3 forms: regular opposition, distant opposition, and diagonal opposition. As long as you maintain some form of opposition, you're golden. And from here, for example, you're not going to march farther away. So when you march closer, they're going to turn that diagonal opposition into regular opposition. That's why C2 doesn't work. C1 doesn't work for a couple of reasons. No, black is not going to go make a move of distant super opposition, because it's too far away. It don't work. You know, they're going to march in front of their pawn, because from this position, no matter where you move, they're going to keep some form of opposition. If you go D1, they grab opposition. If you go D2, they're going to grab opposition. And if you go C2, they're just going to run over to cover the 3 key squares, E1, E2, E3, so they can promote their pawn. That is why C1 doesn't work. So this doesn't work, this doesn't work, and this doesn't work. Left with 2 squares, E1, E2. The most common wrong answer was E2, because black can just get the opposition. The only one that does win is E1, because black cannot grab opposition. No matter where they move, that allows you to grab opposition. They go here, you go here. They go here, you go here. I hope that you guys learned something. Use your noggin, and you're very welcome. Learn it, master it, own it, use it.